Welcome to We Are Everyone, a video and podcast series powered by Pivotal Moments, and we focus on the intersection of mental wellness in the workforce. We bring together young professionals and mindful executive mentors to bridge the generational gap and bring to the surface conversations about the importance of mental wellness and how to overcome career tradition challenges. Mental wellness is paramount. Join us. Welcome to We Are Everyone. I am your host, Jen Sherman, and we have two very special guests on today, here locally, also in DC, but we are still virtual. We have Peter Maye. He is the co-director of Arts in Foggy Bottom, right in the neighborhood over here next to Georgetown. And we also have Kayleigh Bryant Greenwell. She's the curator of the 2021 exhibition and head of public programs with the Smithsonian American Art Museum and Renwick Gallery. Welcome to you both. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing good today.
Awesome. Well, thinking of a couple topics that really bring all of us together are, the arts, food, just in general, like hospitality. So I thought it'd be great to have the two of you on We Are Everyone to talk about like the power of art and healing. So, we'll be talking today about, what's working with the community to bring together a unique art exposition has to offer and the power of art in our lives and exploring the theme of human and nature. So I always like to start off the interview with a kind of quote or study in regards to mental wellness. And since we're talking about arts today, I wanted to have this one focus on the arts. So the power of the arts has a proven impact on our wellness. According to a study by the International Journal of Qualitative Studies on Health and Well-Being, performing arts participation crucially relates on social determinants of health, particularly from the perspective of building social and cultural capital, encouraging healthy behaviors such as physical exercises and management of stress and mental health, and reducing social isolation. So discussing the benefits of working with community to put together this outdoor art expedition seems important. I would like to ask, Kayleigh and Peter, can you tell us a little about yourselves and Arts in Foggy Bottom, and kind of going back to that quote of how it all relates and comes together, as we have had 2020 and think we've had to pivot a lot of these types of events and ways.
Right. I'll let Kayleigh go first.
Oh, me? I thought you were going to go first, Peter. Sure, I can go first. So as the guest curator for the Arts in Foggy Bottom Biennial, now this year, 2021, first, it's an honor to have been selected, to have been asked to do this. But as it relates to mental health and wellness, of course, originally the biennial was supposed to open 2020 last year, and we had to delay because of the global pandemic. And I'd say for myself, speaking really, really personally here, working on this very collaborative project and this effort with artists, with the whole creative team, with AFB, with Peter, with our with our exhibition director, Nancy Daly, with our tech director, Paul. This has really been really important, I think, in my mental well-being in the pandemic. During the majority of last year, when the project was really stalled, not having that creative outlet certainly took a toll, I think, on my mental well-being. And now being back in it, planning, getting to talk with the artists again, seeing what they're working on, and encouraging them. Some of the artists that we're working with, this is their first interpretation of outdoor work, so getting to push them out of their comfort zone. This has been just so important to my mental health, and I really feel myself, thriving as a creative person now that the project's back on. So I think that this past year has more so than ever before just really affirmed that that the arts, that creative expression is so key to mental well-being.
I would completely agree with that. And did you have anything else to add there, Peter?
Yes, I agree with everything that Kayleigh's mentioned. I've come from 30, almost 5 years of experience in the advertising industry, and so I've worked in, that's the only industry I've worked in, and I've only worked with teams. Fortunately, I've been fortunate to only work with teams, which is I think, for mental well-being, I think it's great to work with teams because having people there, other people, sometimes you're not at your best. Sometimes the other person is not at their best, and you're there for them. They're there for you. They understand what's going on because you're all working on this common goal. And so that's one of the best things about this project. It's like, it's a team. It's an amazing team. So again, so all this time in the industry, Foggy Bottom, Arts and Foggy Bottom was launched by these three amazing ladies in 2007. The first show happened in 2008, and it was them wanting to showcase the historic neighborhood and also to open community dialogue and have, people enjoying creativity within Foggy Bottom itself. And so we are fortunate in that this exhibition lends itself perfectly to what's going on right now. It's always been outdoors. It's an outdoors exhibition, and so last year it was supposed to happen in 2020, and we had, Kayleigh can attest to this. We had Zoom call after Zoom call, saying, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? What's the government saying? What can we do? What should we do? And we finally said, okay, we just have to push it off until next year, because originally the tours were all guided by the artist or the curator. In the past, we would have music performance from the National Symphony Orchestra in the evening, play while we're having tours. And so it was a very, social, lots of people sort of event. So we finally this year decided, okay, we're going for it, and we're going to pivot, and we're going to do QR code self-guided tours. And so we wanted to we know that, people are going to be coming out of this crazy hellhole, and we wanted to help, and we wanted to give them something to look forward to. And this sort of really fits perfectly in that space, in that people can take their time and take the tour and be on their own, in their own little groups, and it'll work and help everybody, emerge from what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because, in retrospect, with how we are all outside, last year, if we weren't still inside, kind of, but it would have worked. It's the perfect event for the current world we're living in, but it just probably was we were all so overwhelmed. Can we even go outside? Do we wear a mask? Do we not wear a mask? It was just probably too hectic. But I feel like being able to have that data from last year and kind of getting ahead of it now and kind of going with this, it's I'm actually really looking forward to this year's event, because you've kind of taken all the learnings from last year with the, your old or previous event, not old, but previous event experience as well. So, I mean, I'm excited as someone who loves the arts. I mean, this is just a pleasure to talk to you guys. I could probably talk all day about modern art and all that jazz. So, yeah, that is something that is definitely really important. And going back to that creative outlet, I think that's something that we've all really do need. And you don't really know what you need and take things for granted until it's not there. So I'm happy to see the art world kind of coming back. But I would also like to know, something that we've been talking about at Pivotal Moments is mental fitness and being aware of the importance of mental strength. What do you think about when you hear the term mental fitness?
So Kayleigh, I'll let you go again first, and I'll.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, I can go first again. Mental fitness and the arts have always really been strongly linked historically. Maybe we're at a time where they're not as strongly linked for whatever social reasons or societal reasons, but from the Renaissance period on, there was this direct link of expanding your mind, expanding your curiosity, and the arts, drawing, painting, sculpture. The process of perspective drawing, single point perspective drawing is a mental workout. And so when I think of mental fitness, I immediately turn to my arts training and my arts background and my love and passion for the arts. I think that time spent drawing daily is so good for you mentally. But even if you're not an artist yourself, time just spent appreciating art, whether it's visual arts or music or whatever creative outlet that you're seeking, it definitely strengthens and fortifies your mental spirit. I think it's so important.
Right. And coming from a corporate background, I've worked in internal ad agencies in big corporations my entire career, and coming from that and the group thing, so mental fitness, I find that it's something that you have to establish and work towards, making sure you pay attention to that part of you, which is establishing, exercising or just walking. And I think the arts are huge in that. So because working with creative people, it's a blessing for me. I'm not the creative person, but I spent my whole career working with creative people who are just so amazing, because they've always amazed me, the things that just comes out of their head, all these creative stuff that just comes out. And so having someone who's not within the creative world, having the creative people provide you that, to take you to that other world, to take you to the other space, to get you out of your whether you're accountant, you're a numbers person, or whatever it is, to be able to go into that other world that was created for you, to use the other side of your brain to sort of like de-stress, to relax. I think that is such an important part of what, artists and creative people give to society and to all of us.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And I think, you kind of both touched on, how art can help in building mental fitness. Kayleigh, you touched on that, which I think is really true. It's like this escape into, not an escape, but you are working that other side of the brain. And I particularly feel, whether or not I have the drawing skills that artists have, even if it's scribbling on a page with my really fun calligraphy pens, I'm still exerting or getting something out that in processing and strengthening my mental fitness muscle through that act of the creative process.
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, exactly.
I was just gonna say, it goes back to think about kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old. And you said scribbling and doodling. The first time as parents and teachers that are teaching young kids, that they notice that their minds are opening up is when they're doodling, right? When they're drawing, they're doodling, they're scribbling, that connection is just there. You see their minds opening up. You see them creating something out of their own world. And it's when we become adults, suddenly we don't doodle anymore. No, we got to keep doodling. It's so important.
Yeah, it is. You're right. And my kid, who's now 19, he's been doodling the whole time. We have books from when he was that age of all his drawings, and now he's really this amazing artist. And that's all the stuff that comes out of his head. Whether when he was at a certain age, it was all about using Legos to build stuff. We'd actually go to the movies and he'd come back and build a whole set from Hunger Games out of Legos. And so always, it's amazing art, how you can use art in different, stages of your life, and whatever it is that you have, you can do something creative with it. It's pretty incredible.
No, it is beautiful. And I think a lot of times, and again, I always have to say I'm not an expert because I'm not a mental health expert. I just like talking about mental wellness. So, but art is a great form from what I've heard of a therapy, because you are kind of working that mental fitness muscle to like, whatever you're processing up there, you can just put it on paper. That's why people say journaling is so powerful. Cause I'm like, when I journal, I'm like, wait, what is this? Who's writing this right now? I'm like, what is this? It's like this like subconscious, but, yeah, I think that's great. And, how, I guess, has working in the field of art helped guide both of you in any particular ways?
Well, for me, so I guess yes, because I crave that creative, being around creative people. I sort of majored in advertising in school, and I got a job in advertising, which I was shocked. And all my friends, because usually, you can never find a job in your major. So all my friends were shocked, and that's all I've done this entire time. And I've treasured being around creative people, young creative people coming in, older experienced people. It's just so incredible, such a great experience to live in a creative world, even though I'm on the more of the corporate side of it, not actually doing the creative work, but being around and working with and being part of a team that will come up with a campaign and see how, that all comes together, and the part each of the team member will play, even if you're not actually designing or creating that final piece of art, you are in charge of executing this piece of art. It's like an architect, comes up with a plan, and somebody has to build that. You have to have an engineer to make sure that's going to stand up, and then you're going to have the contractors actually build it. So there's this whole, working together as a team and feeding from that creative, because the creative part of it leads everything. So it's just
True.
incredible.
It's true. How about you, Kayleigh?
Yeah, I've never known a life outside of art. So for me, I can't. I can only say yes. Art has guided me to the person I am today. I started drawing really early on, and my parents and my teachers, noticed I had a talent for it, and immediately put me in these advanced art programs, and I went all the way through high school, and then eventually went to undergrad on a full ride for studio art. So I've never known a life outside of art. I'm less and less an art practitioner myself these days, and I'm more interested in supporting working artists now, professional artists now. But I have to say that I certainly owe a significant portion of who I am today because of my experiences in art.
Yep. I've explored a lot of art, but I also really like looking at art. And so I could say that like just having that appreciation, but even, I don't know if saw there was the Cherry Blossom Festival. One of my, he actually you can't see his art behind me right now, but, he was designed one of like the there's that cherry blossom exhibit where there was these like seats, and I just like yeah, the chair. So he did one of the chairs, and I was just like, it's just so cool how if you look around DC, between the music and between the murals, between these type of initiatives, we have so much culture and arts here, and there's so many great local, artists. So I just think that, having that, I guess support and guiding these different artists is like, it's just so important, particularly for, the nation's capital. So, yeah. And another topic I always like to talk about are the 4 generations in the workforce. So, and I'm sure Peter, being in the corporate world for a while, and also probably Kayleigh dealing with different artists who are different ages, we all communicate differently. We all were raised differently, but at the same time, I always am like, we're raised differently, but the older generation raised us. So, it's kind of like we all have something in common. But I think when it comes to the topic of mental wellness and mental fitness, how should different generations communicate about the topic, learn to understand each other, even though we have different outlooks and perspectives? And, two separate questions for both of you that I'll just punt out is, for Peter, what did you notice over the course of your career? And then for Kayleigh, how does this communication occur in curating? Whoever wants to start.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I've worked, the beauty of, that's a perfect question, because I've worked in my industry. There are always young, new artists coming in. Every year we get new hires of artists coming out of design school. And so it was pretty incredible to see, to work with these people. I've always taken the approach of like, I've always worked on their level. I've never been I'm the older senior person here and you need to listen to me. I've never done that. I treasure artists and their point of view and how they work. And I try more to be a mentor, working with them. And so I've never had issues with the different age groups. I've learned to adjust to the different age groups in working with the team that I'm usually on, because like you said, we're raised very differently. It's like my kid. I'm like, yikes. I mean, I was the way he operates and the way I did when I was at that age, I was like, oh my God, this is what the web gives us, right? And so it's it is interesting. And so when they do come in, I find you just have to learn to work and appreciate with them. When I was younger, I would go out. We all go out and I would stay all night. Now I go out with them. I would go out with them after work, but I would only stay for an hour or half an hour. I still, have that bonding experience and show that I appreciate you and I want to hang out with you and I want to learn about you and be, part of who you are. So for me, it was always trying to work with that individual and getting to know that individual and how they work and how they navigate things. That's how I found it worked best for me.
I think, there's also in art making and curating, there's also this generational collaboration built in, for artists that go into an MFA program, they're learning from more established artists as they're, establishing their own practice. There's a very big practice in the arts of apprenticeship, of taking on, as an established artist, taking on, somebody a little green, teaching them, your craft, and helping them establish their career. And so, this cross-generational collaboration, I think, is really rich across the arts. And I have to say, I'm really excited that we will have an example of this in the exhibit, because we have one work that is created by a grandmother with her granddaughter.
I love that.
Will be on show. Yeah.
That's amazing. That just showcases kind of like the whole beauty of art is like using this as a place, or using this as like an outlet for everyone to come together. I mean, that's why we call the show We Are Everyone, because it's like, how can we use these different beauties and life and, food, this culture, to just bring everyone together.
Right. On that, I have to go back on that mental aspect you had asked about with working with new artists. The one thing I did recognize is, coming into that very corporate world, and Kayleigh could probably attest to, especially in commercial art, there's a lot of critique. You're working for the marketing team. And so those young artists, they sometimes get, really crazy criticism, like very in your face, bold criticism. And it's coming into the corporate world. That's probably new to them when you have to present to a VP and they have feedback is not that great. So it's, so you come out of a meeting and I would try and walk them through all of that. I would try and help them in sort of like taking that in and put it into perspective and help them sort of like, you got to rebound and do that redraft or redesign of that thing in an hour and go back and present again. So, a lot of times it's like, you have to help them through that. It's like, okay, you just got wiped out, but let's just regroup here. We got to do this. So it is, when you do have people who are older and has been through this minefield a lot, it's up to us to help, the young ones coming in, figure out how they are going to learn to sort of navigate this, because this is pretty much the real world in commercial art.
Yeah, and to build that, build that tough skin. And I know that
yes.
it's hard, right? Especially when I remember start off my career, and I'm like, when I got knocked down, I took it so personally, and it's like we're trying to build grit here, right? That's another thing we really talk about at Pillow Moments. And I know that my mom is a corporate art consultant, so that's where my arts comes from as well. And so she's kind of that middle person between big companies and the artists, and it's like she's dealt with some situations, and she just like needs to mediate them and say, listen, like this is the feedback from the client that's paying for your work, and they want it a little bit this way,
Yes. Yeah.
So it just takes some time, but kind of getting back to Arts in Foggy Bottom. So while organizing the Arts in Foggy Bottom may not be, it may not be the traditional workplace, right? How do you bring together the different perspectives, and how do you think working to organize the event as we're coming out of the pandemic has helped the team with their wellness?
Okay. So Kayleigh put the whole show together and, chose artists, so she can sort of speak to this, I guess, more.
Well, I can definitely talk about the curation and the artist selection. But Peter, you are the organizer. You're the linchpin. You're keeping the train on the track. So
right. So there are two different aspects here, and you can talk about the art aspects. Yeah.
Yeah. So from the art aspect, I can certainly say that we've stayed in touch with the artists during this hiatus period, because we wanted to keep their spirits up. We wanted to let them know we are still, we're trying to figure it out. The show will go on. It's just a matter of timing. And then, finally, when we get into this year and things are finally starting to turn around, and we can confirm with the artists, like, yes, the show is happening. It's going to happen this summer. I mean, it's like, night and day. Even though it's like over email and Zoom, you can still see the difference. You can feel the difference of the mood is shift. It's just like, oh, we're so glad that, you made it happen. And thank you for, keeping us in touch and keeping us informed. But, now it's that rush of excitement that it's really happening. So I can tell you it's night and day from the sort of hiatus planning to we're just a couple months away from opening, really.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It was pretty, for me, looking back, it was pretty stressful for me, because we went through the whole planning of launching a show, and then it was like, okay, stand down, and we had to redo it all over again. And so it was almost a year. We sort of went on hiatus for a year, and then we came back and like, okay, how do we start this back up? Where did we leave off? Okay, let me give them my notes. Where did we stop, and who do I contact, and how do we get this all going again? And that's the beauty of working with a great team, and also working as a team, because each person had their specific role, and sort of I feel like the orchestra leader in getting all these people to work together. And so thank God for Zoom and people who are professional and who can pivot and who don't, freak out with whatever it is that's happening. And so we were able to really come right back together. And I am very, how I work is everybody has input. This is a team. We all have input. And so we just went through and talked to everybody, figure out a date where we thought we should start, and just start regrouping on the assignments. And then we had to find a digital producer to film, since there are no tours anymore. We had to figure out, how do you have a tour that's self-guided? So we had to then figure out how to have each artist recorded over Zoom, and then we're recording each of the installation, and then we're going to put together all these videos that people can use a QR code and actually, have their own tour. So we had to figure out how do we record all this stuff, edit all this stuff, and get it up there.
That's like our tech house, digital stuff right there. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Yeah. That's pretty impressive to pull together.
Right. And the team were great. They are doing a great job. We had to go out and find this digital person. And fortunate, again, having worked in the industry, my last 20 years, I worked at Discovery Channel. So I had people who I can, tap into, who I knew were pros, who I knew they had one shot to do this, and I could trust that they're going to get it right that one shot. And, so we're sort of building this thing as we go, because, we haven't done it this format before.
Yeah. And, I just think, what was the temperature really of artists? I mean, in this past year, I feel like there was a lot of time to self-express and to create, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of people were just kind of in a freeze. I mean, what was the vibe kind of over the past year when working with artists and just in the art world in general?
Some of the artists have completely, redone their proposed piece. Because they're taking into account all of the recent events and their feelings, and how a year in isolation has impacted them. So some artists have stayed sort of tried and true right in their practice. And then some artists are like, you know what, I'm going to do a different thing than I originally proposed. And it's still in the theme, but this is more where I'm at right now. This is more where I'm experiencing the world right now. And this is what I need to express. And that's really exciting to see that. So, our artists through the year and pandemic, a lot of artists have stayed, really active in their practice and their studio work, still making new work, and working on former work, and I will say that that we're so excited for the launch of the exhibit, and while we are doing what we can to not encourage crowds, so we won't have the curator-led tours, and of course I'm disappointed not to see the faces of the visitors reacting to the artworks. I have to say that the upside of this are the assets that we're creating for the artists. So there's such a value there for them to have a website that features a work in progress, a video, a talking head, their bio, all of this information that they can point to when they go out for, grant money later on, or they go out for an exhibit proposal later on, the assets that we're creating for them, because we need these assets to build out the exhibition experience. It just has added value outside of the exhibition itself. So that's really rewarding.
Yeah, I think that is amazing, because if you go to our website, we have each year's show is on our website, and it's by year, and you can just go on and you can just see pretty much just stills of the exhibit. And this year you'll have everything. You'll have how the process of installation, you'll have the artist talking to you directly, and you'll have the curator sort of explain the entire show, and you'll have a deep dive video where the artists will explain how they got to where they are. So there's just so much more that will be living there, and I can only imagine how much of an asset it will be for the artists, because it's going to be right there for them.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm excited. I'm just excited to see everything. So kind of going back to the theme of mental wellness, we always like to ask our guests, what does mental wellness mean to you? So whoever wants to start, I'll say ladies first, because why not?
This is actually a really timely question for me, because, I got my first shot of Moderna earlier this month, and, things are starting to really turn around. Things are starting to look really positive. But for some reason, this month has been more of a drag on my mental state than I think it's, it's the compounding of it being a year in isolation with, uncertainty about my kids' school and, working from home and all of these things. I think it's just felt really compounded. And so, and I haven't been to the gym in a year, and I am not a self-motivator for working out. So in the last week, since I got my first shot and I'm getting my second soon, I signed up back at my gym. I am working out 7 days a week again, and I can tell you it is like night and day, my mental state. So for me personally, like as a working mother, and I have a full-time job, but I also consult on the side. I do curating on the side. I have to have a good mental state. Otherwise I just can't function. And for me right now, hitting the gym has been that key missing component. So I am much brighter than I was, a week ago.
Good for you. No, trust me, that sweat, and you can see in my reflection, the Peloton bike, which I get on, it's like it's my new religion. So I understand.
Yeah, no, that is 100% for me. We kept going to the gym, which is crazy. So we go to Orange Theory, and I don't know if you're familiar with Orange Theory, but so we do it with a mask on, which is even harder. And so we've kept it up because if I don't, I will fall apart. And so for me, it's walking. I mean, some days I walk 10 miles. I look at my iPhone. I'm like, oh gosh. And so it's always about movement. I have to keep moving. And I think it's so much more, it's healthy. It's healthier for you to move. And luckily we have a dog. So the dog has to get walked in the morning and in the afternoon and the evening. So I'm always moving because when I don't, I can definitely, my mental health is just plummets. It is just really horrible. And so movement, exercising is very important for me. And, with that said, that's what's so important about this exhibit, because you're going to be able to combine both. You'll be moving around to see the exhibit around the neighborhood. You'll get to see the neighborhood and get some exercise and take in some amazing pieces of art. So we can offer all of that, which is mentally stimulating and good for everyone with this exhibit we have coming up.
Yeah, I would say that really playing into the theme of human and nature. I mean, I did have a Post-it. My Post-its always rotate because I don't like too much of a pile up. They overwhelm me. But one of them said, "Get outside." And I think a lot of us are really appreciating just human and nature throughout this year as well. Like, okay, well, if these things are kind of limited, not taken away, but we have to take a break from, how can we really capitalize off of, the grounding of earth and, beauty and the arts and just like humans and nature in general. So I feel like, the theme of this year's exhibit is really timely and needed, particularly for this, for our city. Our city's been through a lot this past year. Yeah. But we have resilience. So I guess I like to play a game called What's That Resource? And this is in regards to kind of like, I understand, you both mentioned working out, but it's kind of beyond that. It could be the arts, but I mean, for me, it could just be taking a bath with music on, or dancing, or, singing in the shower, whatever that may be. So I would like to ask, how do you practice preparing with adversity mentally? And then how do you flex your mental fitness muscle?
Well, I'll go. So for me, preparing for adversity, I really tend to, for me, it's experiences. It's your buildup of experiences that prepares you for adversity, because what doesn't kill you make you stronger, right? And so for me, it's always, again, a situation, whatever it is, you put it into perspective. You look back, you're like, okay, this sort of looks like that happened to me, whatever. And that's how I handle it. So for me, it's always about experiences, going back to experiences and have my experience sort of guide me to get through these things. So sometimes it's planned, sometimes it's unplanned, and sometimes your body's just reacting. So I'm just one firm believer in, your experiences will prepare you for whatever it is that's coming ahead. And you will appreciate those experiences, good and bad. And it's also very helpful to have experiences that aren't the best, because life just isn't going to be handing you only good things. You're going to have to handle a lot of different things that aren't so pleasant. So I think if we all just learn to trust ourselves and lean on our past experiences, and we can get through it. We just need to trust ourselves, and we're stronger than a lot of us than we think we are. And when we're in that moment, we realize just how strong we really are. And about flexing your mental, I guess you do things to build your, that mental, I guess, muscle. You have to do things and I think being a well-rounded person, you have to make sure you're taking care of yourself. You have to live life 360 really, because you have all these stressful things. You have to balance that. You got to balance that with something that's pleasure. Work is stress. You got to find some pleasure, find some exercise. You got to do that 360 for you to make sure you're taking care of yourself. You have to do that for yourself.
I agree. And man, I think that this, if anything, that for this past year, we really had to sit with is ourselves, because it's like, we can't really do anything else. I mean, of course, family and stuff, but at the end of the day, you do shut your eyes and that's you're with your own brain, So, yeah. So how about you, Kayleigh?
Yeah, I'll try the second question, which is how do you flex your mental muscle? I am really big into board games, competitive board games, not like Sorry or Monopoly, like Settlers of Catan, the kind of geekier stuff that are strategic and really competitive. And so my husband and I play a lot of board games, and strategic board games where you have to build a strategy about how you're going to defeat your opponent. And I'm very competitive, and I want to defeat my husband every time we play. So I think that is one way that I actively and regularly keep that mental fitness going. And I am also admittedly one of the many people that fell in love with chess from the Netflix show.
Oh, nice. Yes.
Gambit. Yeah. So I was already into gaming, and then I watched The Queen's Gambit twice, actually, as I thought it was so compelling. And so, yeah, now I play on the chess app on my phone, the daily puzzles. And I think that has also helped, kind of keep me mentally going at this time.
Well, yeah, I can't say I took up chess, but I really like Rummy Cube. That's a good one. I'm kind of like that 29-year-old going on 75, where I love Rummy Cube, I love pickleball, but no, I love that.
Pickleball, I've never heard of it, and all of a sudden there are lots of people playing pickleball that sound of that, ball and the board. I'm like, what is that? But I've noticed a lot of people playing pickleball.
It's not as strenuous as tennis. So
right.
It's just kind of fun. Liz and I, our mutual friend over here, her and I are trying to pick it up with the DC Pickleball Network. So, you might see us out on the courts.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yes. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. I just wanted to, give the opportunity to either one of you to share anything before we wrapped up today.
Well, I am looking forward to all this stuff going away. And, I have this one friend, this is one of my de-stressors. I have this one friend that we text each other all the time. And if I know she's busy or she's in a meeting, if she doesn't get back to me, I know she's busy and she's in a meeting. We're talking about it's going to be the roaring 20s all over again. People are just going to burst out of their house, and it's just going to be one big year of partying when this all is gone, because it's just been really horrible. And so we're looking forward to all of that, to everybody just, being able to go out and live.
Yes, I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll share is just, when you're getting outside and you're bringing your friend and wearing a mask, make sure you check out the exhibit this summer. And so,
Yes,
check out the website, artsandfoggybottom.com.
Thank you, sorry, Kayleigh. You're right about that. So the exhibit starts on June 5th and it goes to September 26th, right? I think that's the
amazing
date.
That's gonna be well, I found this sense of relief just now because I was just like, oh god, this is gonna be so great because we have just something of the arts to look at for a long period of time.
Yes,
we just need it.
Yeah, so everybody can take their time and make their way down because it'll be up for quite some time, and just check it out. It's a great neighborhood. Kayleigh's put together this incredible show. And so it will be very fun, very informative. It'll just be great.
Well, I'm very excited as, I'm right down the street. I used to be in Foggy Bottom, but then I left and moved to Georgetown, but still close enough. But just thank you so
very
much.
Close.
Yeah, very close. Thank you both so much for joining us. We will obviously include all the promotions for Arts in Foggy Bottom, and then also, just keep on promoting the exhibit as you guys will open up and continue throughout the summer. So thank you both. Thank you for tuning into another episode of We Are Everyone. You can subscribe to We Are Everyone on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and also be sure to visit www.pivotalmoments.org to learn more about the organization. And we also want to hear what mental wellness means to you. So you can follow us on social media, submit your video, and we will catch you next time. Thank you so much.